raccoon sat snuggled in his mother's lap. The last golden rays of sundown shone through their keyholes, and his younger brother Johnny lay curled up fast asleep on the far sides of their hollow. "This is my very best time," Chester told his mother, lifting his eyes to hers. "This is my very best time too," she told him sweetly. "Do you still want me to tell you about the little Robbie?" "Yes, please." Well, Mr. Raccoon began her story. He stepped up to the edge of his nest, bent his little legs, lifted his tiny wings, and said, "I can't, I'm too afraid," and hopped back into the safety of his nest. "He was too afraid to fly?" asked Chester. "Yes, he was," answered Mr. Raccoon. Chester looked very worried. He dropped his head and stuck out his lower lip. Did the little robin think it was okay to be afraid? He thought it meant he wasn't brave, explained Chester's mother. "You see, the little robin brother and sister flew their very first time, and he thought that meant they were very brave. And if they were very brave, he thought it meant he wasn't." Chester appeared very upset. Was he right? He asked his mother. Mr. Raccoon smoothed out the fur on top of Chester's head. "Well," the little robin father told him, "that it wasn't that his brother and sister were brave. It was the fact that they simply weren't bothered." Chester lifted his head and purred up at his mother. "What does that mean?" Mr. Raccoon laughed. The little robin wasn't sure what it meant either, so his father asked him if he was bored when he was eating worms. "Oh, yuck!" shrieked Chester. "That's disgusting! Why, what did he say?" "He said he wasn't bothered eating worms at all. He said he loved eating worms, especially the big, long, thick, stretchy kind." "Oh, bletched Chester, his nose and mouth twisted and squished together, and his entire body sludged. "Each worm would bother me." Mr. Raccoon nodded. "It would bother me too," she confused. Then the little robin father asked him if he was bothered when he was singing, and the little bird began twisting and said he wasn't bothered when he was singing at all. Singing is a lot better than eating worms, Grim said Chester. I agree, said Mr. Raccoon. Then the little bird father told him that being brave wasn't about flying when he wasn't bothered to fly. Being brave was about flying when he was bothered to fly but found the courage to fly away because he knew he must. Then his father asked him if he was bothered when he was reaching his flying lesson in front of all other little birdies who nested in our tree. The poor little robin got all flustered. He hopped and down and flapped his wings just like he did the time the skunk sprayed our tree from down below. The little robin said that reading his lesson in front of all the other little birds was worst thing he ever had to do in his whole life. Suddenly, Chester began to tremble, and his nested deeper into his mother's soft, comforting arm. "What's the matter?" his mother asked. Reaching lesson in front of the other animals at our teacher school, it's the worst thing I ever have to do in my whole life too, he whimpered. "Is that so?" asked Mrs. Raccoon. She gave Chester a reassuring hug and then took his tiny hands in hers and gently kissed the center of his claw. "Shall I tell you what happened to the little robin? Or would you rather jump on top of Ronnie and waking up to school?" Chester giggled. "I want to know what happened to the robin." Well, the very next day, little Robin mother took one of her own tiny flight feather into his wing and told him it was for good luck. So even though he was still bothered about reaching his lesson, the tiny bird stood in front of all the other birdies in our tree and twisted. I lift my head to the clouds. I push off with my feet and flap my wings and let the gentle breeze take me for a ride. And while he was still afraid to fly, he found the courage he needed and said to himself, "I'm very brave." Then he stepped up to the edge of his nest, spread his wings, pushed it off with his feet, and flew away. After all, he was a very brave little robin. "Hooray!" clapped it Chester. Do you know what I think being brave is? Asked Mr. Raccoon. Chester shook his head. I think being brave is about three little words. Think, tell, do. If you think you can't, tell yourself you can, and do it. Mr. Raccoon lifted Chester's hand. Can you see my kiss on your plum? Chester laughed. No. Well, you know it's there, and it's for luck. Just like the robin little feather. Chester jumped off his mother's lap, bent his knees, opened his arm, and yelled, I'm very brave. Then he ran to the other side of the hollow and with a flying leap landed on top of his brother. Wake up, Ronnie! It's time for school. Chester and Brave had a special make. Later that night, Chester Raccoon stole on a branch at our teacher's school. He remembered what his mother said about think, tell, do. If I think, I can't. I tell myself I can and do it. And he found the courage he needed to tell himself, I'm very brave. Then he opened his hand, and there in the middle of his palm was his mother's gentle kiss for good luck. And even though Chester was still tiniest bit afraid, he recognized his lesson in front of all the other animals. After all, Chester is very brave little raccoon. The end.
Con đọc lại cái tên của bài, cái tên của truyện đi. Vừa nãy con chưa đọc.
Chester the Brave.